Hi, everybody, and welcome to Book Club with Bay. I am Bay, and this is Bay. Say hi, Bay.
Hi, Bay.
And today we are talking about Silver Shadows by Richelle Mead, which is the 5th book in the Bloodlines series. So we are almost finished. And yeah, fuck, I forgot what I was going to say. It just left. But anyway,
God damn it.
The first thing we do is first thing we usually do is ratings. I think this is probably the one that I liked the least.
In terms of enjoyability, yes.
Yeah.
But it's because the plot line isn't all light and airy in this one. This one's like, it gets fucking dark in this one. She literally gets tortured psychologically and physically. Like this one, the brainwashing elements and everything, you can tell that while it's still written in a YA format, or even, I guess, probably still new adult, or what new adult should have been. I'm just going to say new adult, and we're just going to automatically add the as it should have been onto the end of it, because I can't keep clarifying because it's annoying.
Yeah.
While it's still written through that lens and everything, you can tell she knew what she was writing about, and it was well written, and it was, but it just, the other books did have, the light, airy, we're in Palm Springs feel.
I'll say
this is like Sydney's in a fucking basement bunker having her arm dripped in acid on the daily.
As far as enjoyability goes, I think the one thing that would have fixed it for me is if they had made contact a little bit earlier, and that's it, because otherwise I don't have any issues with it.
Yeah.
But I think had she not stretched that out so much, I wouldn't have gotten so antsy.
Yeah, this book deals with far more mature themes than the previous ones. Even Adrian's mental health in this one, while last one, that was a major plot point throughout the whole book, is mental health. This one, I think, went a little bit deeper than that again, because we actually saw him spiral back down into it.
Yeah.
After he'd gotten out.
And all of those elements I liked. Like, I liked everything. Yeah. It was just, I think
it was a far less light book.
Well, yeah, and that's not even the problem. I just think that it falls into the trap of, you have the two characters separated, and they could have made contact earlier, and I don't think it really would have changed anything.
Yeah, I guess the reason they didn't is, a big part of that is so Adrian could have his spiral, because if they made contact earlier, he wouldn't have spiraled.
Yeah.
Because his spiral also prevented him from making contact.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. I guess I was fine with the timing of that, but like, again, like, there wasn't my biggest issue with this book, and it's not because of the book itself. It's a good book and everything. It's just what made it less like, this is fun to read. It's like there was almost none of that witty banter until they had their first dream contact, because they're the ones that have it.
Yeah, there is that.
Up until that point, there was literally no lighthearted moments. Like, even when we had Adrian's like binge drinking episodes and everything, they still weren't lighthearted. It was like, Adrian's really suffering right now. Adrian's going into a downward spiral. Adrian's falling back into his old ways. Oh no.
Yeah, and I don't really mind that the book is just Sydney from Adrian's perspective. I think that at this point, it's kind of like in Vampire Academy when it wasn't really from Lissa and Rose's perspective, but because you can get into Lissa's head, it got to where half the books were from Lissa's perspective.
Yeah.
So she already went to that format, so that doesn't really bother me. What does bother me is listening to the male narrator.
Especially when he does Sydney saying, "Oh, Adrian."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, Adrian."
He tries to get all like frilly and girly with it and like a little bit breathy, and it just comes out like, ugh.
I miss the old days. I really do. My brain corrects it when I'm
I just really wish it. Yeah, I just wish Emily Schaefer had done all of Adrian's chapters in his fucking Aussie accent.
Because my brain just corrects it when I'm listening to it, or at least it tries its best.
Yeah, it gets hard. It was harder in this book because there was almost no Adrian dialogue from Sydney's perspective until like close to the end of the book.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I miss. Honestly, though, I will say I'm very interested to see what you think of the epilogue of the next book.
Great.
It's so cheesy. It's so cheesy.
Great.
And it takes, and they lived happily ever after to a new level. Just so you know.
I mean, whatever.
The next book though has the best fucking like. It's not a plot twist. It's more like here's a fun factoid that nobody knows and nobody saw coming. And it's the best thing ever.
So I guess ratings.
Yes, ratings.
I don't even know. Like,
what?
I'm gonna go with like It's a Vanilla Milkshake. It's good and like I'm into it, but I wish it was strawberry.
So I'm just laughing because it's kind of along a similar sort of theme as what I was thinking. I would do it as, okay, so from McDonald's, you get your chocolate sundaes, and if you get a large chocolate sundae, like there's topping on the bottom and topping on the top.
Yeah.
It's like that if they forget to put it on the bottom. Because you can still enjoy it. It's still yum, but it's also like, I wish there was chocolate topping on the bottom.
Okay. Yeah.
Because, yeah, and I think it really is just the two of them don't have a lot of interaction with each other until the end of the book, and their relationship has been the most enjoyable part of the entire series.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably where that's at. Because again, like even in every other book, even in really tense situations, the two of them snarking at each other lightens the mood.
Yeah.
And there was no mood lightening.
Nope.
So,
which is appropriate, but also
yeah, no, like
it's like it's kind of like it takes it back to Vampire Academy where it's like you have to be hella in the mood for dark like that.
Yeah, like next book as well, they're separated a lot, but nowhere near as much as this book from memory.
Why did you think the Ruby Circle is trash? I'm interested to hear.
Me?
No, Al Smith in chat.
Oh, they're attracted. So I didn't see. The ending is fucking like my biggest complaint about both series combined is the epilogue of Ruby Circle.
Is that the last one?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I haven't read that one yet.
No, you haven't.
Never mind. Don't tell me.
Yes.
I read it. I don't know what happens in it yet.
Yeah. just don't look at YouTube chat for a minute, just in case L. Smith decides to answer the question before like the stream catches up, so I can delete it.
Okay. But
okay,
anyway.
no, that's not spoilery. That's fine. It was sure to try to wrap things up too quickly. A lot does happen in the next book. A lot fucking happens. But okay, we've done our ratings though.
I don't think we need to go over characters.
Ultimately, we have there's only really 3 characters we need to mention, I think. Duncan, Emma, and there's so Sydney's in re-education.
Yes. From whence last we met.
Yes. Emma is her roommate in re-education.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like perfect little princess, and Sydney's like, oh fuck, but then she's not a perfect little princess, so it's like, okay. Then there's Duncan.
Because normally I'm just like la da 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 da. Oh my gosh, no way! That's how I read books, because I want to feel surprised. But once she was like, Emma's the perfect little princess, I was like, betcha she's not. Oh my god, I was right. I'm so smart. But I'm pretty sure you're supposed to think that. So at least if I were writing this book. Oh no. At least if I were writing this book, and given that I write books, that's what I would have set you up to think. So I'm pretty sure I'm not that smart and I was supposed to be thinking that. But I thought it, so I think I thought right.
Yeah.
And yes, I am a blonde now.
Yes.
Welcome.
And then there's Duncan, who is another re-education student person, I guess, detainee. He's Sydney's first friend in there. And then there's what's her name again? Sheridan.
Sheridan, yes.
Yes,
like,
Sheridan.
Sheridan.
She's the chick in charge. She's a re-education warden.
Yes.
And she a bitch. And
I wanted to stab her.
My favorite moment at the end is when Sydney rips the necklace off of her neck.
Yes, I know.
It's like, fuck yes.
I was really waiting for Sydney to be like, and by the way, Roy made it. Fuck you. She didn't. Oh, by the way, spoilers ahead, because this is book club with Bay, not spoiler-free book review with Bay.
Yes. So that's pretty much, I mean, there's a couple of minor new characters, but we get to those as we come to them, because fuck going through every minor character.
Right. So we open the book with Sydney, and we've skipped a time jump. We're about 3 months into Sydney in re-education.
But she doesn't know it yet.
She doesn't know it yet. She doesn't know how long it's been. She knows she's in re-education. But she's not really aware of how long it's been. And we just get introduced to re-education. We find out that she's been like gassed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that her sleep is regulated with gas, that they're using gas to keep her either awake for long periods of time or sedated, and like sedate her on demand, and also sometimes agitated and that kind of thing. And this is what they actually call, like, the solitary confinement is what they call her, like, reflection time.
Yeah.
And at this point in the book, what they are doing is trying to get her to comply and
confess her sins.
And they're confess her sins. And they're like, hey, if you do this, we'll give you coffee and we'll let you see your family. And she's like, well, I don't really want to see those fuckers. But she's like, but if I do it, I'll get out of here. So she kind of fights with herself about it. And then she's finally like, okay, I confess my sins. I fucked up. I fucked him, Roy. Can I leave now? And they're like, not really, but yes. And
so it's important to note as well, I guess not so much for this book, but next book we deal a bit more with. I mean, I think that's another complaint about the next book is while like Sydney's PTSD is there, it's not, I don't think, as much as it should be, but she also has shit to do in the next book. So you're kind of forgiving of that. But she spent the 3 months in complete and utter darkness. There's been no light, except for a little tiny light shining on her cross. She spent about half that time naked, and then they finally gave her something to wear. She didn't have a bed. The only thing she had to wash herself with was hand soap, or a black bar of soap, sorry, and like a wet cloth.
Yeah.
Like, they've really been like, this whole thing is meant to like just completely break them down so then they can build them back up in their image, just like a cult. The alchemists are a cult confirmed.
And they keep her really cold and that kind of stuff. Like, it really gets fucked up.
Yeah. So
they're pretty much experts at doing everything that they can to almost kill them, but not kill them. So they also haven't really been feeding her. Like, they've been feeding her just enough to keep her alive, but she's also lost a ton of weight and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. This re-education is like effectively the most quintessential domestic violence partner person.
Yeah.
Break him down and build him up.
Yeah.
So and then at the end of the chapter she's like, she said, like, in her head she's like, I need to get out of here, so let's just play along. She confesses her sins, and then all the lights in the room turn on.
Yes.
And then we go to Adrian. And he's not doing so great. He's been drinking more and more because he's gone off his meds as well to try and use spirit to find her. And just more time's gone on, he's just starting to devolve more and more. He's drinking more and more. His schoolwork's getting behind. He misses Jill's like fucking runway show where she designed clothes and stuff, and he's all sad and depressed. And
right. So what he wanted to do is he remembered to do that, but he didn't remember that they had a thing today. So he sits down, he texts Jill, and he's like, where are you guys? I'm really confused. And then they're like, where the fuck were you? And he's like, I thought I was meeting you guys. And then it's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
So he thought he was doing it good, and then he wasn't.
Yeah. And all the others are starting to get really annoyed with him because they've seen that he can be better, but they're just like, oh, he's just fucking given up. He's hopeless. And Jill's really the only one that is empathetic, but that's because she spends half her life in his head. Yeah. So, and then friggin' Trey is living with Adrian now because he's with Angeline. And as much as Adrian's happy for them, he also kind of wants to kill them because he's like, how dare you be happy while I'm miserable, which I think we've all felt a little bit in our lives.
Oh, yeah.
But so Trey's living with Adrian now because more or less, once him and Angeline got, official, his dad's like, well, how dare you? I'm not paying for your school anymore. The semester of school is already paid for, but not his housing. So he's moved in with Adrian, but he's still going to school. He's going to graduate, good boy. So, it's not that chapter where his mom comes, is it?
No.
It's the next Adrian chapter.
Yeah, I think that's later.
Yeah, I don't. Him and Marcus have also all been in constant. I don't think it's really important if we get like the exact chapter by chapter breakdown, right? Just as long as we have the basic.
Yeah, like this is a book where like the exact chapter by chapter breakdown is not really that important. Just
no. So he's also been like, Marcus is looking for Sydney. He's constantly arguing with Lissa to try and find Sydney, and Lissa's just like, they won't tell me where she is. They said she's just been reassigned.
I wanted to slap the fuck out of Lissa. I wanted to smack both Lissa and Rose. I was like, Lissa, I get, but Rose, you motherfucker.
Yeah, like Lissa is like, her position in this is like, look, I get you, I feel you, but Sydney's our boo-boo and find her, damn it. And yes, Sydney is supposed to be Rose's friend, and Rose is just like, maybe she really was reassigned. How would you know, Adrian? But
I wanted to hit Rose with a 2x4.
At the same time, though, Rose didn't know that, one, how much Sydney had changed in general, and two, that she wasn't merely friendly with Adrian or merely tolerated Adrian, that they were boning. So from Rose's perspective, it'd be like, look, if Sydney was reassigned, why the fuck would she be keeping in contact with you, you weirdo? Stop stalking her. So in it, like, I'm trying to see it from Rose's perspective, but also
I wanted to hit Rose.
I did too. I'm in the moment while I was reading it, like, I'm like, shut the fuck up, Rose, you know nothing. But then the same part of me is also like, but she knew nothing.
But it just it feels out of Rose, because like also though the Rose that we know like doesn't let anything fucking lie, like she just doesn't.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like
Rose, the protagonist, would have like gotten her nose and everything to figure it out.
And Rose, the protagonist as well, would have been like, Adrian, like, why? Why do you care so much about?
Yeah.
Sydney? Why? Tell me. And she would have clicked on. She would have clicked.
Yeah, Rose, the protagonist, would have been like, oh my God.
He's been bugging us for 3 months about this one girl. There has to be a reason.
Yeah, so I'm like, where is Rose, the protagonist? What's happening? Because like Dimitri still acts like Dimitri.
Well, Dimitri later in this book as well, like, he seems to be the only one of the. I'm really upset that Christian wasn't in this book either. But anyway, he's the only one of the 3 core characters that were in this book from Vampire Academy that seemed to click onto anything.
Well, that's the thing, is like Dimitri acts like Dimitri, but Lissa and Rose don't really act like Lissa and Rose.
Well, with Lissa though, like
I said,
that's understandable. She's queen now. She's got shit to do and politics to worry about now. She didn't have to worry so much about politics in the first
But Rose never she doesn't give a shit about politics. That's why Lissa's queen in the first place.
Yes.
And Rose also, she's pushier than shit. She doesn't care about personal boundaries, as we saw when she was trying to get back together with fucking Dimitri.
Yep. But maybe that's the problem. Maybe because, you know, the most she ever did was, you know, be fond of Adrian. She was just like, well, no need to be pushy there. That's Adrian. He's a bit obsessive, the weirdo. Because that's still how she sees him. She still sees him as like Adrian from book 2. She's never quite seen him as anything but. Which makes me sad.
But also, then there's Sydney to consider.
Yeah, like she should.
It does go out the way when it comes to Sydney.
Yeah. I just, again, though, I think because Rose, she knows that Sydney's less uncomfortable now, but I don't think she fully understands just how less uncomfortable Sydney is. Like, Sydney's getting tainted, or I was about to say the crudest thing. I can't say that sentence. Got halfway through. Well, they refer to interaction with Moroi, like more than professional interaction with Moroi, as being tainted. And that's also a colloquialism for a female body part. And I was about to put the 2 together. Let's not. Let's just carry on. So yeah, Adrian's like, Liz, help me find my boo, and she's like, I can't. She's not one of my peeps, yo. If it was you that they talk, sure, but I can't do it for her. And he's like, well, I hate you, bye, and hangs up on her and gets drunk.
Yeah.
I guess, and then we go back to Sydney.
Yeah, so just to like, I think we can just sort of go through her first couple of whatever in re-education. I think we can just do this without jumping back to Adrian, just to chronicle it. So with re-education, what they do is they eat and they go to like art class and then they go to like blah, blah, blah class. And there's like 12 people there and then like the roommates. And so the reason why Adrian hasn't been able to reach Sydney in her dreams is because of the gas. It's like a drug. And so since she's drugged, any kind of drugs interfere with spirit. So even on her end, if she's drugged or like alcohol or whatever, he can't reach her. So the fact that she's been drugged this whole time, no spirit. And so she's like, okay, I'm out. I'm going to get a good night's sleep. She does like her whole thing. And on the first day in like class, she accidentally says a thing. And because they're like, the Moroi are turning themselves into Strigoi, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, where is your proof? And the guy's like, rah. And she's like, nah. Then she's like, shit. And then they're like, we're going to go purge you. Yeah. So what purging is they give you a drug that makes you feel really, really sick, but you're not going to puke. So you just sit there feeling like you're going to puke, which sounds fucking miserable because we've all been there. And I was like, this is awful.
Yeah. And while she's feeling fucking pukey, they just flash up pictures of Moroi.
Yeah, to make you associate that feeling with Moroi, so it's like conditioning. And then
oh fuck, what show did that happen in? Because that happened, was that in Vampire Diaries or something as well? No, sorry, that was a book. It was a book. It was Morganville. You can just picture Morganville really well. It's very descriptive. Same sort of thing happens in Morganville, where people get like towards the end, people are getting conditioned to feel sick every time there's a vampire near them. Yeah. So, yeah. So that, like, the logic in, again, that is something that can be conditioned.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just basic conditioning. And so at the end of it, they do let you throw up. And then they torture you by then offering people like your favorite things. So she gets back up to art class and she gets offered, and everybody in the room gets offered like her favorite vanilla lattes, but she can't physically consume it because her stomach is so fucked up. And then they're like doing this whole thing and they're like painting. And then this guy next to her is like, I'm really sorry, but I haven't had coffee, but this sucks for you. I know it sucks, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, they make friends. His name is Duncan. And so this is like her first friend or whatever. And he's like, but I'm not really going to be friends with you.
Yeah, we're only friends on the sly because, you know, it's not appropriate to make friends with the new people.
Yeah. And so that's like her first friend. And then she's all excited to go to bed. And then she feels like, and then we meet Emma. And Emma's like, fuck you, and then goes to sleep.
Yeah.
And then she like feels her body get really weird, and then she's like, motherfucker, because there's gas.
Yeah, they gas them in their rooms.
And she's like, no. So she's not free from the gas.
Yeah. So then throughout that initial time in re-education and everything, she keeps on getting sent to purging. More or less every time anyone says anything that's remotely favorable, they get sent to purging. Anytime anyone shows any sort of non-group think, they get sent to purging. Like even with the art class and everything, they had to draw a bowl of fruit, but it didn't matter how good you were, but the coloring and positioning and number of fruit and everything had to be precise, or you had to start all over, because there is no such thing as free thought when you're an alchemist. You don't have the liberty to, you know, be artistic, I guess.
Yeah.
So pretty much, does anything major happen between that and her working out a way to? Oh, that's right. She starts talking to Duncan because she works out that he's, you know, not too stupid. you know, he's good at tech stuff. And she's like, how does the gas come in? And he's like, oh, there's a panel. He's like, we shouldn't be talking about this. And she's like, just tell me, damn it. Did the re-inking stuff hadn't happened yet, had it?
The what?
The re-inking stuff hadn't happened by the time.
No, that happens later.
Okay.
So yeah, he's like, she's like, just tell him it, and then because they're painting ferns, he's like quickly just like, oh, the spores and photosynthesis, and they have like this really loud photosynthesis conversation about spores.
Emma was eavesdropping.
Right. And later, so they have a meeting before bed. They go to the library. They get to pick out an alchemist propaganda book, and like they have got like about a minute, and then Emma drops down. And she's like, "Why do you want to know about the gas, bitch?" And she's like, "Ma'am, I don't know anything about any." And
Emma's just like, "Don't be ridiculous. What?" And she's like, Anthony's like, "Oh, well, I might have a way out of here." Well, because Sydney's like, "Well, fuck it. I'm stuck here regardless. Might as well just see if she's telling the truth and not setting me up." And she's like, well, because of this. And she's like, okay. And then she goes to talk to someone else. And then she comes back and she goes, once we're back in our room, wait 60 seconds and then do your thing, boo-boo. So yeah. Sydney's okay then.
So what Sydney does is she gets like this diary that has like these metal components that she can kind of use as like a flathead screwdriver.
Yeah.
To get like the thing off. And then she's going to stuff a sock into the vent to prevent the cat from...
Oh, great. Sorry, it just glitched out again.
No.
It's okay. I know what you're saying.
Okay.
You stuffed the sock in, and it worked.
Yeah.
Perfect for you.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Adrian doesn't come.
Yeah.
So let's get back to Adrian now, shall we?
Because yeah, let's eat over there. More or less, Adrian's been having a hard time. He's not doing good in his class. He like goes to his exam. He does it bad because he's like, there's an exam today, which, oh my God, what a fucking mood.
Yep, and then he's back at his place. He's all sad, and then there's a knock on the door. He goes and answers the door, and it's Mummy. And she's like, well, Adrian, hello. And she's like, you're coming back to court with me. I am out of prison now. And he's like, okay. And she packs like some of his stuff, but not all of it. And she's like, what about the rest? And she's like, that's fine. We'll buy more things back at court. By the way, you are going, because she also has like her upper crust but Aussie accent, not like upper crust British, because I guess they try to be a bit different. She's like, by the way, you will be staying in guest housing because I just thought you would prefer that. And he's like, okay, cool. And so they go back to court. He remembers his Aunt Tatiana's cufflinks that he pawned in the last book. He grabs those. He's also Aunt Tatiana's been also just chilling out in his head all day, every day now, because you know he's going crazy. And so he goes back to court. He runs into Nina, the spirit user from the last book who restored her sister. By the way, her sister has gone, she's fucked off. She's gone off on a soul finding mission. Very important to keep note of because that's a big plot point for the next book. Olive's MIA. Neil, the British Dampier in Palm Springs, is all sad because they had a fling while they were at court and he got his tattoo thing. You know, he was keen. He was keen as a bean for her, but she's not talking to him. Every time Nina tries to talk to her in a dream, she's like, fuck off, I'm busy, I'm finding myself, go away type thing. So that's Nina's concern. He has dinner at his parents' house type thing. It goes okay, I guess, as far as an Nabashkov dinner goes. Like, Adrian's like, this is kind of boring, but cool, I guess. And then once the guests leave, Daddy Dearest is like, well, I'm retiring to my room. Farewell. And Adrian's like, the fuck? He's going to his room? And his mom's like, oh, yes, we're still technically together, but we've decided it would be best if we had separate lives under the same roof. So I'm sleeping in your room, which is why you are now in guest housing. And Adrian's like, how dare you?
Adrian has a lot of like really weird moments in this book, which, you know, makes sense.
Yeah, well, Adrian's more or less just discovering that his parents' entire relationship was always it was more or less a marriage. It was literally a marriage contract as opposed to
a marriage.
A marriage.
Yeah. Poor Adrian.
Honestly, though, if they were going to do the proper thing, right, like generally when people like just like we shall breed to merge the families and pool our resources and it's the appropriate thing to do. They generally also have more than one kid. But I guess even as a baby, Adrian would have been a handful, so fair call as well. But yes, theirs was very much an aristocratic marriage and not I love you, you love me, let's get married marriage. And Adrian's just like, so you're going to just keep taking his money? And she's like, well, I don't have another choice. If I leave him, I'll be broke. We have a prenup. So Adrian storms out. He's mad. He runs into Nina. He's like, let's go do drinks. So then they go out and get drunk. And that's pretty much how Adrian's been spending all of his time, getting absolutely shit-faced. I think that's the main part of Adrian's thing. Oh, no, because then he also goes... So Nina's got the hots for Adrian. It's clear to everyone, like it's clear to the reader from like last book that she
got yeah. I was even thinking it. I was like, she likes him and he's being dumb.
Yeah, well, he kind of picked up that she was flirting with him last book, but it's just like, could even just be we're both charismatic people because we're both spirit users, But he ends up, because Nina's been doing a lot of work with Sonia on spirit stuff, and so, but she's also working as a secretary and this and that. But initially, the other royals were like, "Why are you bringing a secretary here?" But now, they're like, "Oh, she's with Adrian. That's cool. Nina, welcome," type thing. And one night she goes over to. That Adrian's just a mess, and he's like, "Come with me." And I think this ends up being like the same night that Sydney puts the sock in the vent, or it's the next night. It's one of those two nights.
Yeah.
And he's like, they go to Sonia's house, and he's drunk. He's like, "I demand payment for Nina for the spirit work. Damn it." And Sonia's like, "Well, I don't even get paid. Like, I'm trying. I've been applying for grants, but like I don't know." But that is actually an interesting point. This is very important to the Queen, so maybe we should talk to her about reimbursement, or being paid, whatever, remuneration. That's the word.
Yeah.
She's like, maybe we should talk to the Queen about that, but now's not the time. Not Olive. Nina, you are soaking wet because she got pushed into a pool. Here, have some dry clothes, go get changed. And then she's like, Adrian, she loves you. What are you doing? Stop leading her on.
She's like, Adrian, please stop that. Also, hi, Pat. Hi, everybody. And yes, I am blonde. That's what the peach was all about.
Yes.
To go.
For a second, I'm like, what peach? And I was like, oh, the hair color. Okay.
The hair color, yeah. Sorry. I was trying to get all of the.
No, yeah, you don't go blonde in one hit, especially from red. You get to go pink first.
Yes.
Oh well, actually, a lot of people get to go orange, but Bay got to go pink. So yeah,
I got to go pink. Yeah.
And he's like, "How dare you," to Sonia, and they leave, and then a couple days later, he's passed out in bed after a party thing, and he's dreaming about Sydney. Not spirit dreaming, just normal dreaming. And then he feels arms around him, and he starts making out, and then he opens his eyes, and it's like, oh fuck, it's Nina. He's like, what are you doing? She's like, what are you doing? You grab me. And she's like, keeps on trying to go for it. He's like, no, you are friend zoned. Stop. And she's like, and she runs off crying effectively. And that's when he's like, well, I need to get my shit sorted. And he dumps all his alcohol. He tries to contact Sydney in a dream. No joy. He does a couple other things, works out what he needs to do. He's about to go and get blood because he can't remember the last time he had blood. And then he tries again. It's been about an hour, and he makes contact with Sydney. Now let's jump back to Sydney because there's stuff that happened in between her stuff in the sock in and her meeting up with Adrian in a dream. So the next day, Emma's like, did it work? And she's like, it took me ages to fall asleep last night. I guess like I wasn't asleep long enough, but I'm sure it'll work tonight.
Yeah.
Because at this stage as well, Emma doesn't really know why she needed the gas turned off. She just knows that she needed it turned off to make contact with the outside world.
Right.
But then it doesn't work again. And because what happened was the girl that Emma had spoken to had made a really big scene in her room to get all the eyes focused on her room instead of Sydney's room. So like Sydney was like still completely on camera when it happened.
Right.
But no one was looking. So this chick got in a lot of trouble. She got sent to purging and shit. And it appears that it was all for nothing, and they're pissed off at Sydney. So they've started to report her for being naughty over every little thing. So Sydney just keeps getting sent to purging. And they just think that Sydney is just full of shit and wasted of time. No one likes her. Duncan is still like, low-key friends with her.
Yeah. Yeah, but everybody's mad at her. And Sydney's just like, she's confused, but she's really like, Adrian will come for me. There has to be something wrong. Like, he will. Like, he totally will. And like, meanwhile, Adrian's just spiraling. And then he's finally just like, I need to get my shit together.
Yeah.
Is this after the conversation with Dimitri that he's like, I need to get my shit together?
I think, yes, because he was still spiraling. I forgot about the conversation with Dimitri. So that was after one of his nights out. I think it might have even been the morning before Nina climbed into bed with him. I think it might have been that same day.
Lagging, that's not good. Okay, I don't know how to fix that. But I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Which one of us is lagging? Anyway, we'll just carry on and hope for the best, shall we?
Yes. It wouldn't be book club if there weren't issues. What can I say? We need a guy for this. Just need to hire somebody to take care of all of this.
I know, right? Okay, so it's your internet, it's not mine. That makes me feel a little bit better.
Welcome. I'm a mess.
So yeah, when Adrian had been stumbling home from the party in the wee hours of the morning, like the sun was just starting to rise, so it was like, and the absolute end of the fucking day for vampires type thing. He runs into Dimitri and he's like, let's go have some food. And he's like, okay, I guess we'll go have some food. And Dimitri's like, what's going on with you? Like, you're better than this. I've seen you be better than this. And he's like, how absolutely dare you, sir? And was that the gist of their conversation?
Yeah, that's still that's the gist of their conversation.
Yeah. And then okay, so then they're in the dream and Sydney's like, you're here. And he's like, wow, you're skinny, but you're here. And he runs through a fountain because he set up their meeting place where they used to meet, like the museum thing.
Yeah. I guess it's also important to note too that he can't tell just how skinny she is or just how like malnourished she is, because they make a note that it's a mix of what the person actually looks like and
how they see themselves.
Yeah, and like what you see them at as.
Yeah. So unless he specifically designs her appearance.
Yeah, so the fact that the last time he saw her, she looked normal is heavily influencing what she looks like as well as, so it's like a combo. So she looks like she's lost weight, but she doesn't look like gaunt and awful like she looks like in real life.
Yeah, so like when she was taken, she was a larger size 4. Because she'd put on some weight. She would definitely be struggling to fit into size 0 clothing now.
Yeah.
Like, not struggling as in it's too small, or struggling as in it's hanging off of her. She's that skinny.
Yeah.
She'd probably be lucky to be 45 kilos. I don't know what that is in pounds. She'd be under 100 pounds right now. She's skinny. So he sees her and she's like, "You came. What took you so long?" He's like, "I'm really sorry." And she's like, No. Like, let's be honest, it was my fault, but I'm also just sad and happy, and I'm an emotional wreck, Adrian. Okay, I'm in re-education. What do you want from me? So then I think by this point as well, because he had spoken to Marcus before he got in contact with her in the dream and everything, and she's like, oh, because she'd also discovered in their communion time, I can't remember what that's called. They've all got really fucking like double think names, I guess.
Yeah.
But effectively their communion time where they have like their group therapy session and like repent in front of the group and all that stuff. There's also like the repenting wall. And she saw that Keith was in the same facility. Because he'd written, "Carly, I'm so sorry, KD."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, Keith was here. You need to talk to him." He was like, "Okay, well, I'll get in contact with Marcus and we'll see if we can find him and this and that." And I think, he's like, "Just don't do anything. Like, keep a low profile. We're coming for you," type thing. And that's pretty much the dream, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then Sydney gets woken up because, it's time to wake up. And she, like, Emma can see on her face that something's happened, and she's like, you did it? And she's like, "Yeah, I did it." And she's like, "Okay." Stuff's starting to happen, but it's not happening today, so let's just carry on as usual. And then Sydney is sitting at the lunch table with something that happened, in between in between Sydney putting the sock in the vent and talking to Adrian was someone, a new person came, and they were not biting their tongue. They were going ape shit and being like, "This is fucking retarded," all that crap. And she got taken away and came back with a massive re-inking dose thing. And she's like zombie, and everyone's avoiding this girl. And Sydney's like, "Bitch doesn't even know how to get her food right now." So Sydney is like, "You need to come with me, pick up the tray, get your food, sit down. Okay, you need to eat that. Now have your drink," all that stuff. And then Sydney gets in hella trouble for it because she wasn't supposed to help her. So instead of going to purging, she goes to, something else. I can't remember what this one's called. But
she goes to motherfucker. I forget.
Yeah, I know that. I don't know if we found out the name for this one, because then there's the one she goes to later, which is the one that had the P on the door.
Yeah.
But that's the later one. Whatever this one is, can't remember. But effectively, she's strapped into a chair. Her arms are like on little hoist, like uppy downy lift things, and there's liquid below them, and a picture of like two young Moroi teenage girls at school pretty much pop up on the screen. And Sheridan's like, "What do you see, Sydney?" And she's like, "I don't know. I see two Moroi." And she's like, "Do you see creatures of evil?" And she's like, "I think I'd have to know a bit more about these two Morois specifically before I could say that." And her arm gets dunked in the water, but it's not water, it's acid. And it burns, and so Sydney's just like starts parroting the line, "I see creatures of evil." Every time a picture comes up, "I see creatures of evil," over and over and over again. And then a picture of Adrian and Jill comes up on the screen, and she can't do it.
Yeah.
And then her entire arm gets submerged in the acid.
Yeah.
And she finally caves.
Yeah.
And gets dunked again just once for good measure. Like, that's for hesitating, you bitch,
Yeah. And also just because Sheridan knows that she doesn't really mean it.
Yeah.
And because she's just a fucking bitch.
Yes. And I think this is where as well she pulls out the necklace. And she's like, "You were doing so well, and then you did this. So I guess I'm going to keep this necklace now because you're never earning it back." So she puts it on just to taunt Sydney even more. Okay, so now that bit's done, because that happened before the dream, now we're post-dream again. Same day, though. She's at lunch, and she's sitting with Duncan and his group. And one of the guys at the table, because Sydney's also been instructed by Duncan don't say anything yet. Don't get involved yet. You know, like it's a very slow process of, you know, being allowed to socialize. Because Duncan's been there forever and so has Emma. So they know the rules pretty well. But there's a guy there, Jonah.
Yep.
And he's been messing up lately. He's just like, I'm gonna be getting ringed soon. Like that, I'm gonna turn into a friggin' zombie. Like, kill me now type thing. Because he's just been he can feel it in his bones that it's coming.
Yeah.
And Sydney's like, I might be able to help with that. And Duncan's like, shut up. And she's like, no, we're all in this together. And so she manages to steal some salt out of the salt shaker.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, takes it to the bathroom, blesses it with her magic. And then she goes out and she's like, and she needs to get a syringe as well. So they also discuss getting the syringe. And so then her and one of the other girls orchestrate an argument going into the next class. And she's just like, I don't know, like, you know, what's wrong with hanging out with Maroy? Like, if there's no one else around, what's wrong with going to the movies with them? And this other chick's like, how dare you? How absolutely dare you? Type thing. And so Sydney gets sent to Pershing because that's where all the syringes are. And so just as it's done, she's wiping the mouth clean after she has her throw up. And she's trying to work out, though, how she can actually get the syringe down into her bra or something so she can actually smuggle it out. When Duncan comes in, he's caused a scene, and he's, like, creating an even bigger scene right now to give Sydney a distraction to take the syringe.
Yep.
And so she does, and then she runs into him later, and it's like, did it work? Yes, I got it, you know. Sydney's just like, I just need some water now. And we're good, fam. And Jonah's like, I need to meet up with whoever, with Sheridan after our communion time, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
It's happening, and you need to give me everything you got now. I'll just use tap water. And Sydney's like, that's really unsanitary. He's like, I don't care. I'd rather a minor infection than, you know, brain dead. And so then at dinner time, he comes in. And he's acting like a zombie, and they're like, fuck, it didn't work. And then just as they're leaving, he's like, well, that was nicer than expected. You know what else was better than expected? Wink. And they're like, it worked. What? You know?
Yeah.
So then she has a dream chat with Adrian again. Okay. During that time, Adrian and Marcus are like, we need to go and talk to Carly because we can't find Keith, and maybe Keith has reached out to Carly. You know, he's apologetic. So he tells Sydney that, and she's like, excellent. Ask her if she's still whatever, Cicero's philosophy on life. And Marcus is like, that doesn't make sense. He wasn't a philosopher. And she's like, just ask, damn it.
Yeah. I guess the other important thing here too was that, like, Sydney was worried because she hadn't been practicing magic that, like, that she might not still be protected. So another thing that's important about this is that because she just practiced magic, she doesn't really even need to ink herself because she just, like...
Yeah. She's good.
She just re-protected herself, so that's another important thing that just happened.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, then after that, she has decided because then the next day, Emma corners her and she's like, you know, like, Jonah's re-inking didn't take, and it's you did it, how? And she's like, oh, I did a thing. And she's like, well, you're going to give it to me and my friends and this and that. So Sydney is now running a friggin' like re-inking protection ring thing, I guess. But she's like, well, I'm going to need more stuff, you know, this and that. So Sydney's like, oh, well, I can magic. So she does a bit of sleuthing. She does an invisibility spell on herself and, like, stuffs pillows in the bed to make it look like she's still in bed. She works out how to stop the door from locking. She sneaks out of her room to go and get more syringes, and she finds more salts and stuff like that. But then she also finds that more or less the entire place has like a backup system where I guess in case of riot, they can just knock everyone out like instantly. Because the gas in their rooms is set to 27%. The emergency protocol has it set at 80%. So they'd be like comatose like within a half a second. So she's like, let's just, that's a problem we need to deal with type thing. She steals someone's key card at some point because she needs it. And there's much else. She also gets purified water and everything to make it more sanitary. And then she goes back to her room.
Yeah.
Night.
Yeah.
And she dreams with Adrian and she tells him what she's been doing. And he's like, don't be an idiot. We're getting you out of there. And she's like, but what about everyone else? Like I'm not going to leave them here to become zombified. And I guess that's the extent of that.
Yeah.
Then Adrian and Marcus go to see Carly. Oh, they've already been to see Carly. Sorry.
Did we talk about Marcus's reaction to Carly?
Oh yeah, Marcus is like in love with Carly.
Like immediately, he's just like sees her and he's just like, oh, the love of my life.
Yep. She's she's effectively like a take back the night activist now.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, no, I've spoken to Keith. I've seen him, like he wants me to turn him into the police for raping me so then that way he can never go back to re-education. So, like I'm in a position where I would report him now, but it would make him happy. So I'm just going to let him live out the rest of his life in terror. So, no, I'm not doing it.
What a fucking power move.
Like very cool. And she's like, I've got his address, I've got his phone number. They're like, are you sure it's current? And she's like, he emails me quite regularly begging for forgiveness and stuff. I'm pretty sure if he moves, he'd tell me. What I got.
She's like, I got exact coordinates. Like, it's all good. I have a GPS tracker that he gave me. It's really weird.
And she's like, because she's also like, because they have to convince her that Sydney's missing. Because she doesn't know. They've just been told she's been reassigned. We find out from Carly as well that the divorce has been finalized. Daddy got full custody because, Zoe and Daddy had a better thing. And she's like, I wondered why Sydney didn't get involved. I just assumed it was because, she was an alchemist. It's like, no, she was kidnapped.
Yep.
She's like, well, I'm helping too. And they're like, no, you stay here. If there's anything that we need you to do, we promise we will let you know. And Marcus is like, give me your phone number just so we can keep in touch. Yes.
Because Adrian's like, we can take your phone number. And Marcus is like, I should take it for no reason in particular. And
I think it's just important that I be the one to get her phone number.
It's just very important that I'm the one who has your contact info for no fucking reason. No reason in particular. Just like, all right, Marcus.
Cool. So then they go to Boise, Idaho, which is where Keith is.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't talk to you. No, they'll send me back. And they're like, it's for Carly. And he's like, fine, I'll talk to you. Just please ask her to dub me into the police. They're like, we'll ask, I guess. Like, I'm not going to make her, but yeah, sure, we'll pass that along. And he's like, I don't know where I was, but it was a dry heat and it was hot in November.
And he's like, what temperature you did? And he's like, no, it didn't have a thermometer. And he's like, fucking guesstimate, you little fuck. And he's like, maybe like 80s. And he's like, thank you, bye.
And then Marcus, because also at the beginning of the book as well, we established from Marcus that they have a list of all the potential, like when they were scouting for a new re-education center, however many years back, they've got that list of like 50 different or 30 different like cities where it could be. So cross-referencing the dry heat in the 80s in November with the list. They narrowed it down to 2 places, Tucson and Death Valley.
Yep.
And Adrian's like, she was only 5 hours away this whole time.
I should have known it I should have felt it in the force. And it's like, Adrian, shut the fuck up.
And Marcus is like, how the fuck would you have known? And he's like, it's just a weird another form of torture. And he's like, no, there's one re-education in the whole country. You wouldn't have known. It's just coincidence. It's not your fault. So then they go back to Palm Springs.
Sorry.
Yeah. So they've gone back to Palm Springs and they're like, we know where it is. And Eddie's like, I'm coming. Oh, because I don't know if by the time they've gotten back to Palm Springs, they know for a fact it's Death Valley or not, but they find out pretty quickly. It's definitely Death Valley. And they know where because they've gone through like the city records of like construction stuff. So they've worked out where.
I'm really sorry it's roboting.
So Eddie's like, I want to come, but Jill's like, I want you to go. Because like Jill wanted to go as well, but they're like, no, you're not going. You know, you're still not safe. She's about a month away from being safe, but she's not there yet. So, and Jill concedes, but she's like, I want Eddie to go. And Eddie's like, you don't want me to protect you here? And she's like, I want you to go and get Sydney. Sydney needs you more than I do right now. And as your princess, you must do as I command. And then you are to come immediately back to me. And he's like, okay, I'll go. So then we're back with Sydney now. Because Adrian tries to contact her in a dream that night to be like, we're coming. But
yeah,
no Sydney.
But no Sydney. And so he's like, so everybody's like, well, there might not be anything wrong. And Adrian's like, well, the fuck
maybe they redid the gas.
And there's definitely something wrong.
Yeah. So we go back to Sydney. She's more or less done all the magic on all the syringes and handed some out to Emma and stuff and gave one to Duncan, and the rest are, I think, stashed in her mattress or whatever. And she's like, and Sydney knows that if a rescue attempt happens, the gas needs to be shut off. Yeah. So she's gone off to try and shut the gas off. But she's also having a look around and using a key card that she stole the night before fucking everywhere. And she's wandering around having a look. She finds the gas place, turns all the gas off, even in the rooms, not just like, you know, the emergency gas, but like the bedroom normal nighttime gas as well. And then she leaves there and she finds the exit because she's on the reflection floor and she sees the reflection monitoring room and she sees the exit sign there. She's like, finally, I know where the exit is. Okay, good to know. And it's as she's making her way back to her room, she runs into someone. They make eye contact. Her spell is broken. And they're like, there you are, Miss Sage. And then they're like, how did you get out of your room? She's like, I'll never tell. How did you not show up on the cameras? I'll never tell. And she gets tortured a bit. And it doesn't work. So then they're like, okay. And Sydney's also like, how the fuck did they find out? You know, Emma betrayed me. Oh, no. But it turns out, no, they were just tracking the key card.
Yeah.
But luckily luckily she had done all of her looking around because they didn't know what she was actually doing. And the gas room, for whatever reason, didn't require a key card. That would seem like the most key cardy room.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so they've got no idea that the gas has been turned off. But then they bring Emma in. And they start to torture her. And then Sydney's like, fine, I used magic.
And they're just like,
well, and then initially they were like that. And then Sheridan's like, not again.
Yeah. And I'm like, again?
Yeah, we never get any follow-up on that from memory. We just know that it's a thing that's happened.
I would love a follow-up on that shit.
Because I'm wondering as well if it's just coincidence, or if like way back when, like you know, like the founding alchemists before they turned into religious nutbags, if any of them had natural magic ability, or if maybe the tattooing gives them or ups their chance of having magical ability. I'd like to know the science behind it.
Yeah.
Or if it's just coincidence. Like statistically, you're going to have at least more than one magic user amongst all the alchemists in the world. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so then Sydney is more or less in programming now, which is the P room. And effectively they're just like more or less just like playing shit on repeat of like Mariah bad, and you don't get to sleep and Mariah bad, pretty much. Yeah?
Yep.
Yep.
We don't really see a lot of it, actually.
No, because we pretty much...
Now what we're seeing is like the escape plan and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so we see Sydney get led off to there, and then we don't go back to Sydney until it's rescue time. So we only get like, you know, her brief hindsight thoughts about the place.
Yeah.
That Marcus is like, okay, we're gonna do a thing. Oh, that's right. Adrian dream contacts Duncan.
Yes.
The second or third night that he can't make contact.
Yeah, because he's like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? Oh shit, Sydney mentioned this person. He's like, Duncan, and he's been here for a while. Can you find out about this guy? And then he's like, yeah. And then he's also like,
what happened to Sydney? Because he asked what happened to Sydney, and he's like, oh, her roommate Emma was there, blah. And he's like, stop talking.
Yeah, he's like, describe Emma.
Yeah, think of Emma. And then he pulls Emma in, and Emma's just like, wow, that's how she did it. You're a spirit user. And it's like, you're a smart cookie, Emma.
Yeah, then he's like, tell me what's up.
Yep, so then they come up with a plan, but we don't get to witness them coming up with a plan because it's much better to show the plan than tell the plan.
Yeah, that's always how you do it. Everybody knows that's how you do it. You're always like, all right, let's come up with a plan. And then you're always like, what's the plan though? But
yeah, like the scene ends with, so here's what we're going to do, scene end. You know, and that's it. Like not the explanation, like that sentence. Like you're there when they start the plan, and that's it. So then Adrian and Marcus are walking into like the re-education floor level building, and in suits, and they're like, we're with the occult squad. I can't remember what department they like. It was something to do with magic and occult shit. They're like, we're here with them, and Sheridan's like, I had no idea that. I've never heard of such a department. And he's like, well, that's because we're discreet, unlike you. Now, where is she? We got shit to deal with. And she's like, I absolutely don't know what you're talking about. This facility is run with the utmost care and protocol behavior thing. And then fire alarms go off. And she's like, oh shit. And she's like, what's with the water sprinklers? And they're like, nah, they're not coming on. They're not coming on. She's like, okay, I guess we've got to evacuate everyone. So then everyone gets rushed out through the exit, like all of the detainees, all the staff, everything.
Yeah.
And Adrian's looking around, and I think in all of this mess, she then recognizes Marcus. And she's like, Marcus, and they're like, no, and bam, and like his merry men come in, and like they start taking them all captive and shit, like all the staff captive. And he's like, where's Sydney Sage? And she's like, her and another person is still down in programming. Those doors lock. We don't let them out. And it's like, so you're going to let them burn to death? And she's like, we're going to lose two of our people too, okay? We sad. But they both have guards, and all four of them are going to die. So, sucks to be you. And he's like, God damn it. Where do we need to go? So then him and Eddie work out where they need to go, and they go down and rescue Sydney. And then we go back to Sydney's perspective, and she's like, I didn't know if, like, it took her a minute to work out that the fire alarms were going. She's like, what the fuck's happening? Then she hears Adrian's voice, and she's like, this has to be a dream. but it's not a dream. It's Adrian, and Adrian and Eddie come in, and they're like, "There's someone else down here, isn't there?" And yes, there is. Okay, well then we'll rescue her too. So then, and it's Chantel, who is, we didn't mention this. Duncan had a friend, and he was a little bit in love with, disappear a year ago. So this chick has been in this room for a year. Sydney's only been in there for 3 days, and she already feels tortured enough. So Chantel, the two guards, Sydney, Adrian, and Eddie make their way back up. And then as soon as Chantel sees Sheridan, she loses her shit and tries to attack her. They're like, no! And they're like, we gotta yeet. Like, Marcus is like, here's your fake ID. They all have a nice reunion. Sydney's like, I knew you would come for me. Eddie, I love you. I'm so sorry for lying to you. And he's like, I'm so sorry I didn't save you. And she's like, stop it. I lied to you. I love you.
And then she's also like, and now go have sex with Jill, you idiot. Yeah. And then he's like,
you love her.
Excuse me, what?
And she's like, I've just been tortured for 3 months. The least you could do is just go be happy, okay? Like, honestly, your issues, not, like, chill, okay? Just go. Perspective, Eddie. And then she's like, oh, hold on, before we go, and she walks over to Sheridan and rips her necklace off of Sheridan's neck. And then her and Adrian get into the Mustang, and the rest of them pile into Marcus's Prius. Because they're like, we need some alone time, guys. And they're like, fine, I guess. And then she goes to Adrian, do you think Eddie will ever get over me tricking him? And he's like, yeah, I'm sure he will now that he's saved you. And she's like, well, that's good because we're about to do it again. We're not going with him. Because they're also taking all of the detainees to the safe house too. They rescued everyone. So then Sydney and Adrian drive to Vegas because they need money. So Adrian goes and plays some poker, and no, has that happened yet? Does he play poker yet?
I don't think so.
I think he does to get enough for the room. No, he must still have some cash on him. He's got some cash.
I think he plays poker second. I don't know that it matters.
Yeah. No, that he hasn't played poker yet. So they go to the hotel room. He goes and buys us some clothes from like the gift shop and whatnot. He goes back up to the room. Oh, and food. Oh, he also gives a Hopper, and she's about to like turn Hopper from a rock into like, you know, a dragon. And wait, one second.
Yeah.
Keep talking back.
So we turn Hopper back into a dragon to feed him because Hopper is super malnourished because this entire time, because like you need Sydney to say the incantation because she's the only one that can bring Hopper back to life. So you bring Hopper back to life, feed him a little bit because Hopper's in bad shape too. Yeah. Poor Hopper.
He's been in a rock for 3 months.
Yes.
Poor thing. Well, 3.5 months by now, I think. But yeah. He's not good.
Yeah.
And so then they go, you know, they sleep and everything, and then Adrian gets up the next day and he goes to go play poker. That's when he plays poker. It's the next day. Oh, sorry, they're about to do naughty stuff, and then she's like, I haven't been on the pill for 3 months. Did you get anything? And he's like, no, I forgot to get stuff. And she's like, well, let's just cuddle. Give me 1 sec. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like, let's just cuddle. And then then since this is the first night, they get up and
Adrian goes to go play poker while Sydney chills out in the room. And while he's playing poker, he's getting some decent money. And he looks around and he just starts seeing a lot of yellow auras, alchemist auras. And he's like, oh, shit.
Yes, that's what happened.
And then there's an explosion.
Yes. Sorry. See, this is like, this is the part where I'm like, which part was this? Because...
Yeah. Also, if the cast want to take note, this is how you do split perspectives. Like Adrian's sitting there, he's starting to get a bit sus, and then he hears a noise, and then it immediately cuts to Sydney from before the noise, and we find out how it happened. If the cast had been writing this, Adrian would have witnessed it all, and then we would have gotten to experience it from Sydney's point of view as well.
Yeah.
It's like, no. He just knows that there was an explosion. That's all he knows. Okay? Okay. So Sydney's in her room, and there's a do not disturb sign on the door, and then she gets a knock on the door, and they're like, housekeeping, and she's like, well, that's weird. Looks through the peephole and sees 2 people out there, and she's like, nope, alchemist, let's not. So she's trying to work out a way to escape. She's on the 3rd floor. So she's like, window's probably not the best idea. And then she sees 2 alchemist guys rock up out the front of the building, like out the front of her window in an SUV. And she's like, well, fuck. And then she's like, hey, guys, because she yells out through the door, because now they're just like, let us in, Sydney. And she's like, no. And they're like, you've got nowhere to run. And she's like, you might want to tell you guys out the front to get the fuck away from the car. And then she made the car explode.
Yeah.
And in the distraction, she climbed out the window and like was hanging up from the balcony. She was trying to, she didn't climb out a window. She walked out onto the balcony. And she's hanging from her balcony, and she wants to try and like get onto the lower balcony to get out that door. But she's having a hard time because she's weak as fuck, because she's barely eaten in 3 months. And Adrian's like, just let go. She's like, oh, fall. He's like, no, you won't. And he used like telekinetic spirit shit to push her onto the balcony after she lets go. And he's like, can you get out? And she's like, yes. And he's like, excellent. I'll meet you at the place I forgot to go last night, aka the drugstore and the condom aisle. So then Sydney runs down. She runs downstairs, and then she's trying to get out. She sees an alchemist coming for her, and she's like, excuse me, Mr. Security Guard. I saw him blow up the SUV. Bye. And she ran off, and the security guard's like, how dare you? To the alchemist dude. And so so she gets away, and more or less she's trying to lose her tails, and she manages to do so. Meets up with Adrian, and they're like, well, fuck. What are we going to do now? We're fucked. So then they're like, let's go to the witching hour, which is the Moroi casino in Vegas. So they go to the witching hour. Sydney's like, go straight in, go to the bathroom, go out, find a table, sit down, get drinks, do whatever you need to do, just be normal. I'll see you soon. And he's like, okay, I trust you, I guess.
Yeah.
So they enter separately. She goes to the bathroom, makes herself invisible, but with a more powerful invisibility spell, because the other one was more or less just if someone was looking for her and she made eye contact, she was fucked.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, unless someone looks in front of them and knows that Sydney Stage herself is standing right in front of them, then she stays invisible.
Yeah, and this is because she has the amulets and stuff.
Yes, because Adrian.
Yeah.
So she does that, and then comes up and stands behind Adrian. And she's like, don't turn around, but I'm right behind you. I'm invisible, yo. And he's like, there's alchemists all around us. And she's like, I know. So what? Okay, I'm not going to keep whispering, but she's whispering all this because, there's people around.
Right.
She's like, what you're going to do is you're going to go get a room, right? Make sure you say your room number as loudly as you can so they can hear it. And then just go to your room and make sure they hit you first. And he's like, cool. So he does that. She runs up the staircase and finds a phone, and she's like, excuse me, help, someone's being attacked on level 7. And they're like, okay, no worries. So then she goes up, and they're being hauled into the security office, and the alchemists are like, because we see the footage, they jump Adrian as soon as he gets out of a lift. They've got a syringe to sedate him, and he's like, no, and punches, and fight happens, and then security comes. They're like, he's a criminal, and they're like, what do you mean he's a criminal? And they're like, him and an alchemist girl, and they're like, we see no alchemist girl. He hasn't been with an alchemist girl since he's been here. You're clearly mistaken. And Adrian's just like, look, I know you're going to kick them out, but I would like to feel safe in this establishment because these are all Morois, Moroi Casino. He's like, I would like to feel safe. So how do I know that the alchemists aren't going to try and jump me again? Once, like, different ones. And they're like, security, get all the alchemists out of the building. Don't let them in. So, and then Sydney follows Adrian up to the room. And then once they're in the room, she steps in front of him, and she's like, I'm here. And he's like, there you are. You're no longer invisible. Yay. They're like, so what are we going to do now? And he's like, I don't know. The only thing I could think of is go back to court, but that's not safe. Hang on. And then he proposes.
Yes.
And she's like, what are you doing? He's like, I know I'm supposed to have a ring. And she's like, no, of course I want to marry you, but why? And he's like, because if you're my wife, Lissa has to protect you. And she's like, so that's why you're doing this? And he's like, no, because I love you and it's going to happen anyway. So let's just do it now while it's also convenient.
So they get married, and it's really cute. He also goes and he goes and he's like, okay, we have 2 hours. Let's do all this stuff. And then he's like, all right, I'm going to yeet for a minute. And then he goes and he takes the cufflinks that he has from Tatiana, and he gets it turned into a ring.
Yeah. And then he pays the jeweler in the platinum from the cufflinks and uses the rubies in the cufflinks to make the ring. And then with that, he also goes and, like, he also sees a matching wedding band set, like male and female. He's like, excellent, I'll get those two, because he wanted Sydney to have as close to a real wedding as possible. So she's off getting the dress and getting the hair done and everything. He goes and plays some more poker to get some more money to pay for the wedding dress. And then he goes and collects her. And she looks beautiful. And he was expecting her to be dressed in like the plainest dress ever, but it's like Hollywood, like 20s glamour.
Yeah.
And he's like, and she's like, And so then they go to a place that's about to hold a bigger wedding that he managed to convince, like, hey, let us just have our 5-minute ceremony beforehand. They also registered to get married with
under their real names.
Because Cindy's like, look, if we want to get protection out of this, it needs to be legal.
Yeah.
So they get married, and when they're leaving the chapel, they see alchemists, and they're like, no! Oh, because also throughout all this as well, while Adrian's doing shit, Jill texts him, and she's like, this is the most romantic thing ever. I really wish I wish I was there, but at least I can watch it through your head. I'm going to get you guys a present. And he's like, all we need is a way out of here. And she's like, give me an hour. And then she texts him, and she's like, I got you a way out. And he's like, yes.
Yep.
So when they're leaving and everything, and they see the alchemists, like, they're like, he's like, we just need to get to the Blue Lagoon. And she's like, why? And he's like, because that our ride out of here is there. Okay. Like, I didn't pick the place, but we had a lot of parameters that it had to meet, and that was the place. Okay. So then they're dodging alchemists, and then they jump onto a train. Oh, it was funny. They run into like a bridal party, like a hen's night.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, congratulations. And she's like, no, not congratulations. My dad and my family disapprove, and they're trying to make us annul. Oh no. And they're like, have our cab. And they're like, excellent. She's like, by the way, have some practice, throws the bouquet, and then like they collapse and jump onto the alchemist.
I wish they had gotten anything like a YA book to do. Well, it's a YA book, so I'm okay with it.
What was that, sorry?
Chat just said, I wish they hadn't gotten married. It seemed like a YA book thing to do.
Yeah.
But it's a YA book, so.
Yeah.
Again, also, like, it made sense in context. Like, it was a little over the top, but it was cute. I forgive it.
Yeah. So then they managed to get to the Blue Lagoon, but then they can't actually get up there, up to the helipad. Then he's like, you're not a guest. Be gone. And so then they go and speak to someone else, and Adrian's like, look, have some money. How do we get up there? And he's like, oh, you need a key card to get to the roof. And then theoretically you could just climb the ladder up to the helipad. And he's like, can I have a key card? He's another $100. And he's like, okay, gives him a key card. So they make their way up there. And they get up onto the roof. They're climbing the ladder. Adrian's like, you go first. And she's like, no, you go first. It's Moroi coming to rescue us. I think it would be helpful if they saw a Moroi arrive first.
Yeah.
So then he gets up there, and then she gets up there, and Adrian has a gun to his head. Was it a gun?
Yes.
Yes. And Sheridan's holding it, and she's like, well, what do we have here? And the helicopter's just hovering above, and they're like, I don't know what to do, yo. Like, they're confused. And then Sydney's like, I'll kill him and him and him, and then she does, like, human magic shit that scares the shit out of Sheridan, and she lets them go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they jump on the helicopter and go to an airport, like a small airport where there's a private jet waiting, and then or maybe it was the school. I can't remember. They go somewhere, jump on a plane, and then go to court.
Yeah.
And everyone on the plane is just like, everyone else on the plane is just looking at them like, she's a human and he's a Maroi. She's in a wedding dress and he's in a tux. She's sitting on his lap. I'm confused.
Do the math, people.
Yeah. So then they land at court and they get immediately summoned to the throne room. And who is there but obviously
everybody?
Yeah, Lissa, Rose, Dimitri, Adrian's parents, Sydney's dad, her sister, other alchemists, Ian, the alchemist who had a thing for Sydney. They're all there. The whole family's back together again. And Lissa just looks at Adrian and she's like, what is this? What have you done? Oh, God. Adrian, what have you done? And Adrian's like, I got married. Would you like to meet my wife? And Rose is just like, Adrian, this isn't a joke. I know you're friends with Sydney. And he's like, I'm not. Oh, because he's like, I want asylum for my wife as well, please. And Rose is just like, is that why you did this, Adrian? I know she's our friend. But he's like, Rose, you're an idiot.
I'm in love with her, you gooberfish. Like, that's pretty much.
The only thing that asylum had to do with this wedding was the timing. Okay, I was going to marry this bitch one day.
Yeah.
It just happened to be the day. And they're like, Adrian. And his dad's like, you're coming with me. And then Bliss is like, look, this is a lot to unpack. So I'm going to ask the guards to escort the alchemist out of court. Sydney, you can stay, I guess. We have to talk, okay?
Yeah, because they're like, Sydney Sage. And she's like, actually, it's Sydney of Voshkov, if you don't fucking mind. And it's like, oh, dear God.
Like, Rose is probably the least horrified person in the room.
Yeah.
And Adrian's dad is like, this is not happening. And Adrian's like, too late, Dad. It's already happened.
It's already legal, motherfucker.
And he's like, I am not going to let you. And then he notices the ring. And he recognizes the jewel in the ring. And he's like, you did not use royal jewelry to put a ring on this fetus hand. And
he's like,
and then Adrian's mother is like, how absolutely dare you, Nathan? This is our son.
She's like, this is part of the royal family. How could you say that about her? And he's like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah, and then I really loved when Daniela was like, we're getting a divorce, Nathan. Lisa was just like, oh, this is actually something interesting now. I'm not on the hook for this, so I'm good. Carry on.
Yeah, she's like, okay. She's like, you know what? Let's, she's like, fuck it. Let's just unpack all of it here, right now. Let's go.
Yeah. So,
why not?
Like, yeah, she's like, I'm moving out. I don't need your money. I'll find another way to survive. And Adrian's like, so Liz, can you hook mum up with some guest housing too? And that she's like, of course. Like, that's the least weird thing that's happened today.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, so we don't have 2 single suites, but we do have a family suite with multiple bedrooms. Will that do? And Adrian's like, he looks at Sydney and looks at his mom and he's like, one big happy family, I guess. So they go off, and then I think they have a sleep and everything, and then they get woken up the next day. Well, they don't just have a sleep. Adrian and Sydney have their wedding night, and then they fall asleep. And then they wake up the next day, and there's a knock on the door, and Adrian's like, nah, fuck it. Let's stay in bed, we're newlyweds. And it's Rose on the other side of the door. It's like, Adrian, open the fucking door right this second. And he's like, okay, fine. was like, what's up? And she's like, Jill's missing.
And that's where we end it.
And that's where we end it.
So, they are married. They now Sydney Avashkov, and you know that's that thing. And next week we are doing. Not really sure if you guys are going to think it's a bad book. I don't like this book at all, but we're talking about The Cruel Prince by Holly Black.
I have no expectations for this book. I'm just like, let's see what happens.
Yeah, you're going in blind.
Yeah, I know the title. And
yeah.
I know it's part of a trilogy. That's all I know.
I'm sorry for laughing again. Yeah, so we're talking about The Cruel Prince. That is happening on Wednesday at 8 p.m. If you guys want to keep up with our Up Next schedule, you can go to teressajmartin.com, and there is a tab for that under Book Club, so you can always keep up with what we are reading next and when those streams are happening, and they're usually out 2 weeks in advance. Then the week after that, we will be finishing up the Bloodline series. And then after we're done with the Bloodline series for Good Book Week, we will be starting on the Broken Empire series by Mark Lawrence. And I'm so excited. I'm so happy.
Something just occurred to me as well. Check out how long we've been live for. This is our shortest Bloodline stream yet.
Yes, it is. One went for 5 hours.
I'm super happy.
I'm just so excited.
Honestly, this actually literally confirms that most of our Bloodline streams has just been gushing about Sydney and Adrian. Because they weren't together much this book. There's not a lot of gush worthy.
There's not a lot for us to say.
We have done an almost 5-hour stream on Bloodlines, and I'm pretty
I know.
That stream although I think that was also the one that had Brayden in it as well.
It is. We had so much to say about Brayden.
I loved Brayden. Not like I wouldn't want to be friends with Brayden, but I just loved reading Brayden.
So fun. But yeah, I know. I love. Look, Mark Lawrence is my favorite author. I cannot wait to do the Broken Empire series, and then I cannot wait to do the Red Queen's War series. I just reread. So excited.
Yeah.
To do the Red Queen's War series. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Sorry.
You know, honestly, I think I'm pretty sure we've left stuff off of our list as well that like we want to do, but our list alone is enough to get us, I think, for at least the next 8 months.
Oh yeah,
longer. So at some point, there will be a point sometime in the relatively near future, probably come your summer, where we'll probably be doing a lot of power weeks.
Yes,
to try and get through some of it. Because it just keeps getting longer. The list just keeps getting longer. We're adding books quicker than we can read books.
Yes.
So we're gonna have to do some power weeks, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. But
not for a while. Definitely not with Mark Lawrence books. From everything you've told me, we're not power weeking those.
No, they are not. They are books that the fact that I've read them more than once is definitely probably our crutch, because
we're gonna need it.
Yeah, because I'm gonna reread Prince of Fools or I'm gonna reread Prince of Thorns. I'm gonna reread the whole Broken Empire series like before we finish Bloodlines, or like while we're finishing Bloodlines, and then I'm going to do Prince of Thorns again when we read it.
Yeah.
So just because like they're that dense. So the fact that I've read all these books more than once is gonna
I think we're gonna need notes. And by we I mean you, because I suck at doing the notes.
Yeah, I'm gonna take extensive notes for that, just because
even if it's not thoughts, even if you just note the plot points.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. And it, like I said, even with, it's not just gonna be like, I'm gonna have to, sorry, trying to like, my words won't come out of my mouth right now. It's going to be a mix of the fact that I've read them more than once and the fact that I'm going to take extensive notes, because reading them more than once that's not that helpful. But it's me reading them more than once is going to be our crutch. And then also I'm going to read them with notes.
And especially because you'll be rereading them so soon after you've just read them again.
Yeah.
That'll give you a lot more freedom to not necessarily that'll give you more freedom to do the note taking.
Right. Because I'll say to you too, one thing about science books is that you probably won't be able to read them on double speed the first time.
Okay. How long is the audiobooks? Just so I can work out.
So Prince of Thorns is not that long. As we get into it, they get a lot longer. Like, for example, let me look. I know Prince of Fools is 14 hours long.
Oof.
I know The Wheel of Oshime is... Shush.
Why am I oofing that? Like, the last Harry Potter book was like 30 hours long.
That The Wheel of Oshime is also really freaking long. The Wheel of Oshime is 18 hours long.
Okay.
So you could get away with like 1.5 probably once you're used to it.
Yeah, no, I'll just have to make sure I start listening 2 days beforehand instead of the day before.
But they're dense. And like you're just not going to absorb anything on double speed.
Yeah.
They're just that kind of book.
Fair.
And also his maps are up on his website. I'll show them to you.
I like maps.
And you'll want to look at them.
Excellent.
So that's another thing. The maps are helpful. It's basically a map of Europe, but it's just broken down differently. And you'll want to just look at it just to be like, oh, okay, I see what I'm looking at. It just helps you orient it better, because otherwise it's just words being thrown at you and you're like, and then it's just like extra dribble that you're just very like, I don't even know what that means.
I have found like there was this one book series. It was Chronicles of Ixia. I didn't know that there was a map of the land. And so I was just getting hella confused as to where everything was.
Yeah.
Especially, it wasn't so much an issue because there's two countries that share a continent.
Yeah.
The top country was less confusing, but the bottom country, I thought that the jungle part was like still up near the border, but it was mentioned that it really wasn't. But that was because of how the first few chapters of the second book went.
Yeah.
Because they were there before they went to the Citadel, which was like right near the border.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why the fuck would they, like, I didn't even think that they would have gone all the way down south to then go straight back up north.
Yeah.
It makes sense in the context of the story, though. But then I looked at the map and I was like, oh, I have a much better appreciation of where everything is. Okay, makes sense now. Done.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll send you the maps before we start, because the map is the same for both the Broken Empire series and the Red Queen's War series.
Okay.
It gets like a little bigger or smaller depending on like what book you're reading, but it's the same map more or less. So, but it just generally shows you where you're at, which is useful.
Yeah.
But actually, if you're reading it and you know like what Europe looks like, I didn't get confused and really, and then I saw the map and I was like, that's pretty much where everything was in my head. But it is useful.
It eliminates the possibility of confusion.
Yes, because a fantasy book, basically. We'll get into that. I love this series, and I love these books. But yeah, it's a high fantasy series, and so it's a book with a lot of words that sometimes you're like, what?
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
So it's Cruel Prince next week. Bloodlines. Is all of that series? Is it the whole trilogy that the Cruel Prince is the first book of? Is that whole series out?
Yes.
Okay. So doing Cruel Prince and the Bloodlines, second book in that trilogy, whatever it's
Which is
called.
called The Wicked King.
Yeah. And then we're doing
Prince of Thorns.
Prince of Thorns, and then okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. Just so I know what books I need to get.
Yeah. So that is the order of things.
And that's the it.
So I will update the website so you guys can see when we are doing what. And like I said, if you guys want to keep up with stuff just weeks ahead of time, if you guys want to read with us or just want to know when things are happening, you can always check the website. That's always up to date with all the new books and everything. So that's super convenient. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And gosh, it always feels good to actually finish a series. It feels like it just never happens.
We've accomplished something.
Yeah, it feels like we're accomplishing something. So yeah, we will see you guys next week for the Cruel Prince. And yeah, see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.